Let me ask you something real quick. What if I told you there are SUVs out there that mechanics do not hate because they are hard to fix? They hate them because they never see them again. The first one on this list will make you question every bad car decision you have ever made, like that time you thought a used luxury sedan with no service history was a steal. And the last one, yeah, that one might actually outlive your retirement plan and your back problems. Welcome to Grey Beard Garage, where we talk about cars that refuse to die, laugh at planned obsolescence, and treat 300,000 miles like a light jog around the block. Let us get into it, because this list is not here to be polite. It is here to keep your wallet from feeling like a hollowed-out pumpkin. Before we reveal these unkillable machines, make sure you hit that subscribe button, smash the like, and drop a comment below telling me about the most reliable car you have ever owned. It helps the channel more than a fresh set of tires on a rainy Tuesday. Honda CR-V. Alright, let us start with a vehicle so reliable it makes other SUVs look like disposable electronics you bought at a gas station. The Honda CR-V. It is the SUV equivalent of that one coworker who never calls in sick, never shows up late, and somehow still has enough energy to mow their lawn after a 12-hour shift. Annoying? Maybe. Impressive? Absolutely. Now, before you say, yeah, it is a Honda, we get it, stop right there. Because the CR-V is not just riding on brand reputation, it earned it. We are talking especially about the models from the late 2010s, but honestly, this story goes all the way back to the 1990s. These things have been quietly stacking miles like it is their full-time job while you were still trying to figure out how to program your VCR. Under the hood, Honda did not chase flashy numbers or marketing buzzwords that sound like a coffee order. Most CR-Vs came with Honda's legendary four-cylinder engines, with the 2.4-liter naturally aspirated engine being the real hero here. No turbochargers begging for premium fuel like a spoiled teenager, no overcomplicated nonsense, just an engine that wakes up every morning, does its job, and does not complain about its back. Honda designed this motor with conservative compression ratios, oversized cooling systems, and oil passages that look like they were designed by someone who knows humans are terrible at changing their oil on time. And honestly, that is fair. I have seen CR-Vs with 200,000 miles where the engine bay still looks cleaner than my kitchen table. The internal components stay so quiet it makes you nervous that something is wrong, except nothing ever is. And let us talk transmissions, because this is where most SUVs go to die and leave you crying on the side of the interstate. Honda somehow figured out how to make transmissions that do not explode the moment the warranty paperwork hits the shredder. Whether you are talking about the older 5-speed automatics or the newer CVTs, these gearboxes are tuned for one thing: survival. Are they exciting? No. Are they fast? Absolutely not. But they are built with internal components rated for way more torque than the engine ever produces. Basically, the transmission is bored all the time, and bored parts last forever. If you do regular fluid changes, and by regular I mean whenever you actually remember between seasons of your favorite show, these transmissions will outlive most marriages. Fuel economy is where the CR-V quietly flexes on the competition. Depending on the year, you are looking at around 28 to 34 miles per gallon combined. For an SUV that can haul people, dogs, groceries, and all your poor life choices, that is borderline disrespectful to gas stations. The all-wheel drive system is also refreshingly simple. It is not pretending to be a rock crawler that can scale Mount Everest. It is there for rain, snow, dirt roads, and that icy parking lot your boss refuses to salt because he is cheap. Simple systems break less. Honda knows that, even if every other manufacturer has collective amnesia. The best part? The CR-V is engineered for people who do not care about cars, which is a stroke of genius. The air filter is right there. The oil dipstick is bright yellow like a toddler's toy so you can actually find it. The cabin filter is behind the glove box and takes 30 seconds with no tools. Honda assumed the owner might ignore maintenance and built the car tough enough to survive the neglect. The interior is not luxury, but it ages like a good pair of work boots. The buttons do not peel, the plastics do not crack, and the seats do not collapse after 5 years of daily use. Everything just keeps working, which is a miracle in a world where your refrigerator needs a software update to give you ice cubes. The resale value is also ridiculous. A 5-year-old CR-V sells for money that makes other brands weep. It is not flashy, but it is the SUV you buy when you are done gambling with your paycheck. Mitsubishi Montero. Alright, now we leave suburbia behind and enter territory where this thing was absolutely not built for Target parking lots, even though that is where most of them ended up. The Mitsubishi Montero, or Pajero if you are literally anywhere else on planet Earth, because Mitsubishi decided that confusing Americans would be a fun corporate hobby. This is the SUV that aid workers drive through war zones. This is the SUV that explorers take to places where Google Maps just gives up and starts showing pictures of dragons. This is the SUV that looks at modern crossovers and says, "That is cute, does it come with a matching purse?" And here is the wild part. Mitsubishi did not design this thing to be popular at brunch. They designed it to survive a literal apocalypse. Back in the 1990s and early 2000 years, Mitsubishi was deep into rally racing. Specifically the Dakar Rally, which is one of the most brutal motorsport events on Earth. We are talking heat, sand, rocks, and zero mercy for human or machine. And instead of just racing something cool and then selling us a boring toaster, Mitsubishi basically said, let us sell this exact rally tank to normal people who just want to go to the grocery store. 12 Dakar wins. 12. That is not just marketing, that is total domination. That is more wins than I have had successful first dates in my entire life. Under the hood, depending on the year, you are getting either a 3.0-liter V6 or the legendary 3.8-liter V6. And let me be very clear, these engines are not impressive on paper. They do not have 1,000,000 horsepower. And that is exactly why they last forever. No tiny turbochargers screaming for mercy like a toddler in a toy aisle. No experimental tech that requires a PhD to understand. Just cast iron blocks, simple overhead cam designs, and conservative tuning. These are engines that operate like they are permanently on a beach vacation. Mitsubishi built these motors assuming that fuel quality might be questionable and maintenance might be purely optional, which, let us be honest, is exactly how most people treat them. 400,000 miles is not some internet legend. There are real, ugly, dented, sunburned Monteros still running their original engines while everything around them has dissolved into dust. Let us talk about the transmission, a 4-speed automatic that looks ancient by today's standards. And again, that is the magic formula. Fewer gears mean fewer clutches, fewer sensors, and fewer things to break when you are 300 miles away from a cell tower. That torque converter is massive, the cooling system is overkill, and the internal components are so overbuilt it is almost insulting. Transmission shops barely ever see these things, and when they do, it is usually for a fluid change or a seal, not a full rebuild that costs more than your house. Now, let us talk about the thing that separates the Montero from all those mall crawlers pretending to be tough. Super Select 4-wheel drive. This is not some fake all-wheel drive system with a fancy button that does absolutely nothing. This is real, mechanical, locking 4-wheel drive. You can run it in 2-wheel drive, full-time 4-wheel drive, or lock the center differential when things get spicy. And yes, you can engage it at highway speeds because Mitsubishi assumed you might actually know what you are doing. The ground clearance is real, the approach and departure angles are legit, and the body-on-frame steel is thick enough to make rust take decades to even think about showing up. While modern unibody SUVs dissolve after 5 winters, Monteros just exist calmly, patiently, and slightly menacingly. Inside, let us not lie to ourselves, it is old school. We are talking hard plastics and buttons that feel like they came off a microwave from the 1980s. The infotainment system belongs in a museum next to a stone tablet. But guess what? Everything still works 20 years later. No peeling, no rattles, no weird electronic demons that haunt your dreams. And the space. You get actual usable third-row seating and cargo room that laughs at your camping gear, your tools, or that one friend who always needs help moving because they do not own a truck. Here is the part that blows people's minds. Parts availability. Because these were sold globally and used by militaries and governments, you can find parts almost anywhere. Rural Africa. No problem. South America. Easy. Southeast Asia. They have them at the local convenience store. Try doing that with a modern luxury SUV that needs a software update just to open the hood. Fuel economy. Yeah, nobody buys a Montero to save gas. You are looking at around 15 to 18 miles per gallon. But when your SUV can climb mountains and outlive civilizations, you forgive it for being thirsty. And the resale value? Funny thing is, these hit rock bottom years ago, then people figured out the secret. Now, clean Monteros are climbing in value because they are not being made anymore and nothing modern really replaces them. The Montero is not fast, it is not efficient, and it is not trendy. It is just unkillable. And if you think rally-bred toughness is impressive, wait until you hear about the next SUV, because it proves that being boring can actually be the most dangerous thing on the road for mechanics' job security. Toyota RAV4. Now we talk about the vehicle that mechanics recognize from across the parking lot and immediately sigh because they know they are not making any money off you today. The Toyota RAV4. Yes, that RAV4. The one everyone calls boring right before it outlives them, their children, and probably their favorite pair of lawn mowing shoes. This thing is not just reliable. It is aggressively reliable. It is like it wakes up every morning and chooses violence against the very concept of a breakdown. People love to say, "Oh, it is just a Toyota." Yeah, and that is the problem for the repair shops, because Toyota quietly perfected the art of building cars that simply refuse to fall apart like a cheap suit in a rainstorm. The RAV4 is one of their greatest hits, and for good reason. Let us talk engines, because this is where the mechanical sorcery starts. Most RAV4s, especially from the mid-2010s, run Toyota's 2.5-liter four-cylinder engine. Naturally aspirated, no drama, and zero nonsense. This engine has fewer moving parts than most modern powertrains, which means fewer excuses to break down when you are already running late for a dentist appointment. Toyota engineered it with tolerances so conservative it is basically bored all the time. It runs cool, stays clean internally, and ages like a heavy cast iron skillet that you inherited from your grandmother. There are documented cases, real ones, of RAV4s running with oil that looks like a melted chocolate bar, air filters hosting entire ecosystems of squirrels and moss, and timing chains that haven't been inspected since the Obama administration, and the engine still fires up like nothing happened. It is honestly a little insulting to those of us who actually try to take care of our cars. The transmission is another area where Toyota keeps it simple and overbuilt. Whether it is the older 6-speed automatic or the newer 8-speed, these gearboxes are not here for excitement or to give you a thrill at a stoplight. They are here to survive. You get smooth shifts, massive cooling capacity, and internal components rated for far more abuse than the engine can actually dish out. These transmissions do not slip, they do not shudder, and they do not throw a tantrum when the temperature drops below freezing. They just exist quietly forever. And Toyota does not stop at the big stuff. This is where the RAV4 really separates itself, the boring parts. Suspension bushings, overbuilt. Wheel bearings, rated for way more load than you will ever carry, even if you are hauling an entire pallet of mulch from a hardware store. The alternator produces more power than the vehicle ever asks for. Toyota over-engineers the stuff nobody advertises, and that is why these things age so gracefully while other SUVs start falling apart and rattling like a jar of pennies at 100,000 miles. Rust protection. Toyota went full submarine mode here. We are talking galvanized steel, multi-stage coatings, and proper drainage. I have seen 20-year-old RAV4s from the Midwest where they salt the roads like they are seasoning a giant steak, and the frames still look solid. If you open the hood of a RAV4 with 20,000 miles and compare it to one with 200,000 miles, good luck telling the difference. The valve train stays quiet, the engine mounts barely sag, and the timing chains hold their tension. It is honestly ridiculous. And let us talk hybrids, because Toyota absolutely lost their minds with efficiency here. The RAV4 hybrid is one of the most reliable hybrid systems ever built. That battery pack is warranted for 10 years, but routinely lasts 15 to 20. The electric motors are sealed, maintenance-free units with no belts and no fluids, they just work. You are looking at fuel economy in the mid to high 30s miles per gallon in a practical SUV. That is not just efficiency, that is being disrespectful to gas prices. And the resale value? It is insane. A 5-year-old RAV4 still commands 60 to 70% of its original price. Some trims barely depreciate at all. Why? Because everyone knows exactly what they are getting. No risk and no gamble. Is it fun to drive? No. Will it make you giggle in the corners? Absolutely not. But when everyone else is budgeting for their third transmission and crying into their bank statements, you'll be smiling at your oil changes while your mechanic says, "Yeah, everything still looks perfect. Get out of my shop." The RAV4 treats 100,000 miles like a warm-up lap and 300,000 miles like a mild inconvenience. If this one already feels unkillable, the next SUV on this list is going to prove that reliability does not have to be boring. It can be weird, stubborn, and absolutely unstoppable in a blizzard. Subaru Forester. Now things get weird in a good way. If the last SUV was boring but immortal, this one is the friend who shows up at 3 in the morning during a snowstorm to help you move a heavy couch and somehow actually enjoys the experience. The Subaru Forester. This is not an SUV designed to impress people at stoplights or make you look like a tech billionaire. This is an SUV designed by engineers who clearly do not trust gravity, the weather, or humanity in general. Let us address the elephant in the room right now, the Boxer engine. Yes, that horizontally opposed engine everyone on the internet loves to argue about while they sit in their parents' basement. Early 2000s Subaru engines? Yeah, we do not talk about those at Thanksgiving, much like that one cousin who tried to start a crypto farm in his garage. But here is the part people conveniently ignore. Subaru fixed those issues more than a decade ago. What we are left with now is one of the most stable, balanced, and stubbornly reliable powertrains on the road. The flat 4-cylinder engine sits so low in the chassis that the Forester's center of gravity is basically underground. That is not just good for handling. It reduces stress on suspension components, engine mounts, and literally everything else bolted to the car. And because the pistons move horizontally instead of up and down, the engine naturally balances itself. Less vibration means less wear and less stuff shaking itself to death over time. These engines idle so smoothly you can balance a coin on top of them. Try that with your neighbor's rattling V6 and watch that coin launch into low Earth orbit. Now, let us talk about the real magic: symmetrical all-wheel drive. And no, not all all-wheel drive systems are the same, no matter what the glossy commercials tell you. Most SUVs are front-wheel drive until things go horribly wrong, then they panic and try to send power to the rear wheels. Subaru said absolutely not and made full-time all-wheel drive the standard. Power goes to all four wheels all the time. Rain, snow, mud, gravel, wet leaves, or a sketchy parking lot after a rainstorm, the Forester just grips and goes. And here is the key for longevity. Subaru massively overbuilds this system. Differentials are beefy, drive shafts are rated for way more torque than the engine ever produces, and the CV joints are sealed tighter than Fort Knox. Subaru technicians regularly see Foresters with 250,000 miles coming in for their first CV boot replacement. Not a joint failure, just the rubber boot. That is insane in the world of all-wheel drive. Now, let us talk about the transmission. Yes, Subaru uses CVTs. Yes, the internet loves to hate on them. But Subaru's version is tuned for survival, not for winning a drag race against a supercar. They do not push them to the edge. They overcool them because they expect you to drive in mountains, through deep snow, and in terrible conditions that would make a regular crossover cry. If you do regular fluid changes, and by regular, I mean eventually when you get around to it, these transmissions just keep going. You are looking at fuel economy between 26 and 33 miles per gallon. For a full-time all-wheel drive SUV, that is impressive. Interior-wise, let us be honest, it is not luxury. The infotainment system is not going to win any awards, but the seats are comfortable, visibility is incredible thanks to the boxy design, and everything feels functional. Subaru built this cabin to work, not to impress people on Instagram. And as for safety, Subaru went absolutely overboard. We are talking top safety ratings year after year. That Boxer engine is designed to drop under the cabin in a frontal impact, and the roof pillars are reinforced enough to support multiple times the vehicle's weight. Subaru didn't just design the Forester to avoid accidents. They designed it to survive them if the world decides to throw a curveball at you. Resale value is rock solid, too. A 5-year-old Forester still sells for serious money because buyers know they are not inheriting someone else's problems. They are inheriting a vehicle that is just getting started. The Forester does not care about trends, it does not care about horsepower wars, and it certainly does not care about your opinion. It just works, everywhere and always. Hyundai Santa Fe. Alright, be honest with me. You did not expect to see this one here, did you? The Hyundai Santa Fe. Yeah, that Hyundai. 20 years ago, if someone told you a Hyundai would be on a list of SUVs that refuse to die, you would have laughed, locked your car doors, and slowly backed away while calling for professional help. And honestly, that was a fair reaction. Back in the late 1990s and early 2000 years, Hyundai had a reputation for being cheap and disposable. It was the kind of car you bought because it was affordable and then you paid for it emotionally and financially for the next 5 years. But then something wild happened. Hyundai got serious. Like, really serious. They hired the best engineers from Toyota and Honda, they poured billions into research and development, and then they did something that shook the entire industry. They slapped a 10-year, 100,000-mile powertrain warranty on their vehicles. That was not just marketing, that was Hyundai saying, "We dare you to doubt us." The modern Santa Fe is the result of that obsession. Under the hood, depending on the year, you will find either a naturally aspirated engine, a turbocharged 4-cylinder, or a robust V6. Every single one of them is built with a level of over-engineering that would have been unthinkable for Hyundai 20 years ago. We are talking multi-layer steel head gaskets, industrial-grade timing chains, and engine blocks designed to handle more stress than a parent of 3 on a long road trip. Hyundai studied every engine failure in the industry, theirs and everyone else's, and then engineered their way around those weaknesses. These engines run cool, stay clean, and tolerate neglect better than they have any right to. 200,000 miles is the new normal for these, and 250,000 is not even shocking anymore. Now, let us talk transmissions, because this is where Hyundai really flexed their muscles. The 8-speed automatic in the Santa Fe is smooth, conservative, and built with components rated far beyond what the engine actually puts out. There is no fragile dual-clutch nonsense or experimental CVT belts pushed to their absolute breaking point. It is just solid, proven engineering. It shifts clean, it stays cool, and it does not turn your bank account into a crime scene. You get respectable fuel economy in the low to mid-20s miles per gallon, which is great for an SUV this size that does not constantly ask for expensive repairs. The chassis and suspension are where the glow-up really shows. The platform is stiff, well-isolated, and shockingly durable. The bushings do not disintegrate at the first sign of a pothole, and the ball joints do not cry for help every time you turn the wheel. Even the rust protection is top tier now. They went full paranoia mode with galvanized steel and drainage systems designed by people who clearly understand that water is the enemy. Inside, it is not a budget experience anymore. You get soft-touch materials, tight panel gaps, and buttons that still click perfectly after years of abuse. And here is the kicker. The tech actually keeps working. The adaptive cruise control, blind spot monitoring, and lane assist do not freak out the second the warranty ends. People are finally catching on, and used Santa Fe's are holding their value in ways that would have been a punchline a decade ago. That 10-year warranty is not just a safety net, it is a statement of fact. The Santa Fe is proof that a manufacturer can go from the bottom of the pile to building machines that laugh at the junkyard. So, there you have it. 5 SUVs that laugh at planned obsolescence and treat massive mileage like a minor inconvenience. These are not cars you buy because they are going to make you look like a superstar at a red light. You buy them because they still start in the morning when everything else has been towed away to the scrapyard. Reliability is not a matter of luck, it is a matter of engineering philosophy, and these 5 manufacturers actually did their homework. If you are tired of endless car payments and repair bills that cost more than a tropical vacation, do me a favor. Hit that like button right now. It helps Graybeard Garage reach more people who are done gambling their hard-earned money on unreliable junk. Subscribe to the channel if you want more honest, no-nonsense car content with a healthy dose of sarcasm on the side. And please, drop a comment below. Which one of these would you actually put in your own driveway? Or did I miss an absolute legend that deserves a spot on this list? Send this video to that one friend who keeps buying terrible European luxury cars and saying, this one will be different. We both know it will not. See you in the next one. Graybeard Garage.